Good morning. Welcome to the Premium Public Video Forecast discussion for Friday, August 8th, 2025. And as you probably saw from the title, we're going to talk a little bit about Fantasyland, which is why I got my Godzilla Lightning shirt on. Because after all, might as well just dive into all the fantasy, right? And the point here is to address some of the nonsense that has been floating around social media, so that way you can get an idea. You don't have to worry about the end of the world and the worst storm ever and all this other stuff that is already floating around on social media. So, first, before we get going, I just want to remind you that, hey, we have premium consulting membership. Okay, so it's only $15 a month. And as we get ready for the winter season, well, it's a good time to get that service so that way you are well prepared for any type of winter storms or tropical systems in the fall. It's only $15 a month, so definitely check that out. And if you just like the channel, just like, share, and subscribe. And look at the cool little snowflake graphic I put up there. It's pretty cool, right? I'm trying to dabble a little bit. So definitely check that out. It's a lot of cool information about what you can get. So let's also talk about the latest information from the CDC. Okay, as you know, I've partnered with the CDC to kind of share some information. Just so you know, okay, the COVID situation around here is pretty quiet, but there is an uptick going on in traveling. So just so you know, if you are traveling, we are in that time of year where we do start to pick up a traveling for various holidays and whatnot. Definitely talk to your doctor if you have any type of health issues. You might want to be prepared for that, as there is an uptick that's starting to develop. And much like the flu and COVID and all those other respiratory issues, definitely want to keep up on that. So here is the latest data. Again, it's been pretty quiet, but we're starting to see that uptick, which is typical for this time of year as we head into August. So let's talk about the tropics. Hey, look at that. 0% chance and 10% chance. Now, I am sure you all remember all the model guidance just going absolutely crazy for this time period with like 3-4 tropical systems all impacting Florida. We had one, okay, now that's gone now, okay. It's no longer an issue. It's out in the northern Atlantic. No impact to land, okay. It was Dexter. So Dexter became more of a lab rat than anything else. So it headed out into the Atlantic. It's right here. And now we have a tropical wave here that later on may have a 50% chance of developing. So 50-50. And we have another one out here that was as high as 40% and now it's down to 10%. Well, why are we not seeing these storms develop? And why are they nothing like what we saw in the model guidance 10 days ago? Because after all, we had all this activity. So when I say Fantasyland, I mean that there are some who will just look at the model guidance and not understand what environment we're dealing with here. And the environment we're dealing with here is a lot of dry air and shear, but mostly dry air. So you have tropical wave after tropical wave, and there is no doubt with the MJO moving into phase one, it's actually in phase one, that we will see an uptick in activity. I mean, after all, we're in August, we're heading towards September. That's when we start to see the peak of our hurricane season. But the point here is not to say we won't see activity increase, because if we don't, it's going to be one of the most quietest hurricane seasons we've ever had. But the point is not to jump the gun on some of these model solutions. So this feature was expected to have a lot more convection, right? But why isn't it? Well, see, the models are having a hard time dealing with all this dry air. Okay, you can see the dust and the dry air, and it's inhibiting tropical development. Now, it's a little bit better environment here, but then you start dealing with the polar jet stream and shear. So half a dozen or the other. But not exactly the most favorable environment. Meanwhile, along the East Coast here, this is where I am a little bit wary of any type of development, mostly because if you get anything that can develop around here, it can interact with short waves and get drawn up the coast. That is a possibility that I'm always keeping an eye on, but as I said, there's nothing imminent. And in fact, because of some of the interaction with different short waves, the little disturbance that is sitting here off the southeast coast is having a hard time generating a warm core low circulation, a vertical circulation. So where you have your your warm core low pulling up the moisture from the ocean and producing that latent heat release and that ability to get rid of that moisture. Via the upper level dynamics. That's all being crushed, right? So right now, reality is that we're dealing with an unfavorable environment and a lot of dry air to get rid of. Now let's talk about fantasy. Fantasy is this. Fantasy is everyone jumping the gun on this and just going absolutely crazy. I've already seen it in various, the GFS, the European does it, every model does it. Now, the reason why is that this is a synoptic model. Okay, now what does that mean to you? Synoptic means large scale, mesoscale is small scale. Warm core lows, the primary evolution of a warm core low is mesoscale. So synoptic models have a hard time dealing with those types of evolutions. Okay, so how do you deal with this? Okay, so what is the model actually telling me? Well, the model is telling me, hey, look, the environment's going to become more favorable. True. Okay, that matches up with the climate factor, the MJO, going into phase 1. Makes sense. If you get a storm developing, hey, the Western Atlantic Ridge is going to get pumped up, which typically happens when you have a tropical system. So why am I not worried about this solution? Well, for one, it has to overcome a lot of dry air. So here's our feature right now, right, that we're watching right now. Now remember, 7-10 days ago, this thing was rocking and rolling through the Northern Caribbean, possibly to the north of the Greater Antilles and heading towards Florida, and everyone was making posts about it. And you saw it on all sorts of social media. Oh my God, here comes a storm. Reality, it barely is going to get into the Central Atlantic. The reason why is because, as we could see under 90 hours, the ability for the model guys to handle all this dry air becomes far more clear, right? So it inhibits development, and you're dealing with troughs and all that other stuff. As we get further out, well, here we go, another tropical system. And boy, oh boy, does this look like it's going to be rip-roaring, right? And it develops and it forms a very healthy storm heading towards the mid-Atlantic, right? The reason why you have to be very skeptical of this is that it still has to overcome all this dry air, okay? So what I would say to you is what I've been saying for months. Be prepared. Prepare now so others can panic later, right? Don't be the one that panics. You be the one to prepare now, right? In terms of, like, you have your batteries, your water, you know where to go if you need to evacuate, all that good stuff, right? There's no reason to panic now. Have your supplies now. You should have them. I've been telling you this since May. That way you don't have to worry about it when and if a storm actually develops. But until we actually get a warm core low actually developed, these solutions are nothing but fantasy. So there's no reason for you to get all worried about it, right? So this will likely disappear in the 0Z or the 12Z guidance run that shows up. And before you know it, it'll probably be out here or maybe down towards Cuba or whatnot. But I wanted to show you this so you understand from a meteorological standpoint why this is complete nonsense. Because you have to get a warm core low developed. Once you get a warm core low developed, then you can start to deal with other factors like, and you know how that's going to work in terms of the track of the storm, the strength of the storm, and all that good stuff. So again, I think I pretty much dived into fantasy land. What we are dealing with in our weather pattern, look, you know, we continue to see the negative EPO feature standing out very, very nicely. And again, that is supported by, let's see, this feature right here. Again, stratospheric anomalies here supporting our negative EPO pattern. That isn't changing. Nothing's really changed. Again, our SOI is generally weak, but on the positive side, our MJO is in phase 1 right now. It's going to try to clip into phase 2. See that on the GFS, on the European ensembles, takes you into a neutral state eventually as we head towards the end of the month. So again, not a huge deal here. Our 500 millibar pattern, let me jump into that real fast. Again, the overall theme remains in place. Western Atlantic Ridge is dominant. We have this trough hanging between our coastline and the Appalachian Mountains. That continues to be a theme. We'll watch to see this feature here enhancing more of a maritime air mass for the end of next weekend. But for the most part, what we have here is support for us getting back to a little bit more hot and humid conditions, talking about temperatures in the 90s, but no major storms until we get like a cold front towards Thursday night. Okay, and that could produce some showers and thunderstorms, but even that just kind of clips us. But unlike the middle and early part of the summer where this trough was positioned much further north, you can see it's able to dig further south, which is typical of this time of year as we start to shift more to a fall weather pattern as we move through the month of August. So August and September are transitionary months. And again, what we want to watch out for in this type of weather pattern, and one of the things that's trying to show up here on the ensemble guidance, is the potential for below normal heights around the Tennessee River Valley. If that actually develops and you get a tropical system right around here, yeah, there could be some issues here, because then you have winds directed more towards the coastline rather than out to the southwest away from us. Our current weather pattern is such that anything that develops is just going to get kicked right out into the Atlantic like a goalkeeper, right? But if we get anything that develops around Tennessee, Kentucky, northern Georgia, then things get a little bit more dicey. So again, we'll watch out for that and see if there's any type of immediate issue for us to worry about. In the meantime, it's absolutely beautiful. High pressures in control. Look at this. Beautiful weather conditions are in place with temperatures in the 70s, humidity relatively low. It's going to be a very nice day today with high temperatures in the 70s and 80s. On the latest WeatherTap radar and surface map, we even have the satellite overlaid. So let me get rid of that real fast. Bam. Beautiful, right? And if you want to jump to the visible satellite picture, you can see not much really going on. We have clouds coming in from the Atlantic with the easterly wind pattern, but that is pretty much about it. And on the infrared satellite picture, it's pretty quiet as well. We do have a little shortwave marching its way through, which you can see right here, that will produce some scattered clouds. But again, not much moisture to work with, so that's why we're not seeing much in the way of precipitation. But you can see at the mid-levels that onshore flow, right? So that's why we're going to be more of a maritime stable air mass in place. And as we move through over the next 90 hours, you can see here at 500 millibars, we have 500 millibar heights rising. So all the way on through Monday, quiet weather conditions, and really you could take that all the way on through Wednesday. The problem with this building 500 millibar heights is that you're also going to enhance subsidence, sinking air, and push our temperatures back up into the lower to mid 90s. You throw in some tropical moisture and some onshore flow, and you end up with humidity pushing your high temperature, your heat index into the mid 90s to lower 100s. So it's going to be a bit of a hot week on the way. So let's dive into this forecast for today. Scattered cloud cover is expected. Look for high temperatures in the upper 70s to lower 80s over the interior and along the coast, lower to mid 80s on the I-95 corridor. For tonight into tomorrow morning, scattered cloud cover with low temperatures in the mid to upper 50s over the interior, upper 50s to lower 60s in the suburbs, lower 60s in your urban areas. By tomorrow afternoon, plenty of sunshine with high temperatures in the lower to mid 80s. Perfect day to head out to the shore or go to a ball game, but you are going to the shore, just watch out for the riptide. It's a little bit strong, so definitely be prepared for that. On Sunday, rinse and repeat. Clear skies, beautiful weather conditions, a little bit more humidity, so your low temperatures will be in the lower to mid 60s throughout the region. High temperatures will be in the mid to upper 80s over the northern interior, upper 80s to lower 90s on the I-95 corridor, lower to mid 80s along the coast. On Monday, this is where the heat really starts to gain traction here. Look for scattered cloud cover with low temperatures in the lower to mid 60s over the northern interior, mid to upper 60s along the coast and in your urban areas. High temperatures will range from the upper 80s to lower 90s over the northern interior, lower to mid 90s on the I-95 corridor, upper 80s to lower 90s along the coast, mid to upper 80s on Long Island, with a heat index pushing into the mid to upper 90s. On Tuesday, tranquil conditions continue, but more of a southwesterly wind. Could see a little bit of fog in the morning, but other than that, scattered cloud cover is expected, with low temperatures ranging from the mid to upper 60s over the interior in your suburbs, upper 60s to lower 70s in your urban areas. High temperatures will range from the upper 80s to lower 90s over the northern interior, lower to mid 80s on Long Island, upper 80s to lower 90s along the coast, and lower to mid 90s on the I-95 corridor, with the heat index pushing into the mid 90s to lower 100s. On Wednesday, sky cloud cover continues. We could see an isolated thunderstorm with a prefrontal trough approaching. Look for low temperatures in the lower to mid 70s. So the humidity is really starting to crank up. Look for high temperatures to range from the upper 80s to lower 90s over the northern interior. Lower to mid 90s on the I-95 corridor. Upper 80s to lower 90s along the coast, and lower to mid 80s on Long Island, with the heat index again pushing into the mid 90s to lower 100s. On Thursday, a cold front will approach with showers and thunderstorms. I'm going to have to watch the timing of this frontal boundary in terms of impacts of high temperatures, but it looks like it's going to slowly move through during the day with plenty of scattered showers and thunderstorms. Look for low temperatures in the upper 60s to lower 70s over the northern interior, lower to mid 70s along the coast and your urban areas, high temperatures in the upper 70s to lower 80s over the interior, lower to mid 80s along the coast. If this cold front's delayed, then we're going to be jumping right back into the 90s with plenty of humidity. So just be aware of that. And then on Friday, with the cold front off the coast, a few lingering showers in the morning, followed by clearing skies in the afternoon. Look for low temperatures ranging from the lower to mid 60s over the northern interior, mid to upper 60s in your suburbs, upper 60s to lower 70s in your urban areas and on the immediate coast. High temperatures will range from the mid to upper 70s over the northern interior, lower to mid 80s on the I-95 corridor, and upper 70s to lower 80s along the coast. That is your forecast discussion for today. Have a wonderful day. Have an excellent weekend. And as always, stay safe out there.